I think Michael Gove is right in saying that, you know, a 3-year appointment is not automatically renewed. I think the proof of the pudding comes in seeing who actually replaces her and whether they go through a fair and transparent, you know, appointment process.
If she is replaced by a Conservative donor, will that, in your mind, change your view about whether or not it was political to not reappoint her?
I think if you can demonstrate that, I don't think it matters whether somebody is a Labour supporter or a Conservative donor, if they've been through a fair and open, transparent process for appointment and they are genuinely the right candidate for the job. There are a lot of good people out there who could service Ofsted very well, and I think as long as they've got relevant background experience and have got something to add, then that's okay. But I think if it's somebody who's completely left field, simply because they were a Conservative donor, then obviously that's unacceptable.
Do you think it's curious, though, that Michael Gove was at great pains at the weekend on various programmes, saying Sally Morgan had done a fantastic job? In fact, she said superlative. Why let her go if she's so marvellous?
I mean, his reasoning, as you've heard, is that it's useful to have a fresh face at the top. And, I mean, 3 years is quite short.
It is.
But 4 to 5 years. Usually after that, actually, it is a good idea to bring in somebody new. And the same applies to most boards. You want a bit of a refresh. But 3 years is quite a short period. And I guess there's a difficulty in saying, well, we'll just extend it for one. So they obviously thought the time was right to go out for a new appointment after the end of her first term.
Are you surprised by the furore that seems to have followed, then? What's your analysis of that?
I think it's unusual when your term of office, because I've held a number of public appointments, and it's unusual when your term of office comes to an end to complain. Most of us accept that there is a need for a change and move on. So I think partly is that there has been, you know, rumour mills. Partly people are worried about political appointments. But I think this also comes on the tail end of quite a few women from public office seeming not to be renewed in their posts or being removed. And I really would hate to think that we are going to take a step backwards into the 90s, where most of these non-departmental public bodies and most of these quangos, as it were, actually are run by men, because I think that would be very unhelpful. Diversity is vital. Right,
and is this then just another step in that direction? Does it worry you that someone like Sally Morgan is not going to be reappointed, another woman, to a high-profile role like Chair of Ofsted?
It does worry me if this is going to be the general trend, because we have started to see this. And diversity, I'm not interested in women on boards for the sake of women on boards. Actually having genuine diversity in a board, different opinions, different backgrounds, different experiences, actually keeps them fresh and keeps them lively, and all the research shows that. So I think if we are going back to the dreaded days of pale, male and stale, I personally will be very disappointed.
And a former Ofsted Chief Inspector, Sir David Bell, has said Michael Gove shouldn't surround himself with yes men. That has also been the criticism, that while Sally Morgan may have generally backed the direction of Michael Gove, that now he wants someone who's going to do it even more robustly. I mean, that is good advice from Sir David Bell, isn't it?
I think it's not the issue of yes men. I think actually Ofsted has a unique role to play in public confidence. And unless Ofsted is seen to be independent, obviously it inspects the government framework, but it must be seen to be doing that without fear or favour. That's absolutely essential that that independence is retained.
So does it look like a political decision?
I'm not close enough to Michael Gove to know, but I suspect he's now under enough pressure to ensure that there is a proper appointment process.
I mean, you've said yourself how important it is from a public perception that trust isn't undermined. Do you think now that it won't be seen as independent as it has been in the past, Ofsted?
No, I don't fear that. I think there is a piece of work that needs to be done by Michael Gove and his team to demonstrate to the public that the next appointment is fair and is transparent. I mean, for myself, I went through headhunters, I went through a panel interview, and yes, I was appointed by the Secretary of State, but he had two clear candidates, both who were above the line, as it were, and appointable. And I think as long as we see a process like that, I think the public will be satisfied. This appointment could also be taken forward by the Office of Public Appointments, the Office of Public Commission.
Yes.
And that would again give it a bit more distance and a bit more transparency.
What's been your view about the recent criticisms, though, that have been levelled at Ofsted in terms of the questions they're asking, the way they're carrying out their inspections? If you like, that preceded this row. Michael Wilshaw was furious about it.
I think there's an inevitability, certainly at the time that I chaired Ofsted and Christine Gilbert was Her Majesty's Chief Inspector. There were criticisms then, there were criticisms under Tomlinson, there have been criticisms all the way, because schools get worried. And it's easier to say, oh, well, Ofsted says, and therefore we can't do this innovative thing or this good practice thing. So I think that's actually quite common currency. I think the important thing is that the inspection frameworks are seen to be fair and robust. And I see absolutely nothing to suggest the frameworks introduced by Michael Wiggleshaw are anything but that. But it is used as an excuse by schools to not have the courage of their convictions.
Zenna Atkins, thank you very much.